stuff together. I'd like her to go plays, a couple hours, just to get acclimated and socialize with other kids as just a child, you know. That's all we're doing. He went to school for architecture, but he started his own design build, like residential contracting business. So that's we did the long distance for years and years and years. He moved here 2 weeks before I had Ruby. So it was quite an adjustment for both of us on multiple fronts. No, it was from Western New York, up by Lake Tahoe. So when we talk about 9 and 11 inches, so they get that in the night. Big deal.
I don't remember my dad ever saying.
It's really big there.
Well, when you guys was on the board, I was four. I asked them for the car keys to drive up here and watch, but they didn't. So they didn't go on 7.
You know, really slow pace. Everybody knows.
Hey, when did you take this job when they fired her out?
District,
That's a tough choice.
Do they choose between? Yeah, they can choose okay. So they've scheduled one that's long day.
Funding in Indiana.
I actually wanted to get out of these 3 days.
Just because it's not like because they're yeah. It's not just
I did 2 days. Whoa.
And I'm
Oh, yeah, it was White State.
It was somebody bad, like.
East Carolina.
Yeah, it was, no, it was 1AA. It was one of those, it was like a Northeast conference.
yeah, so it's like, it's just
It's 10 minutes.
Jake was at the game.
38 to 9. I said, okay, well, that's
He said they scored 11. That's the one part I still got. Every ACC big picture we've had, even if they okay, you can't play a game right
What do you think about the shot clock? 45 seconds? KO. They have everything on it. And the backboard is like, you know, lights up like that. On
It was like, this is coming. Game wasn't meant to be played where you hold it back 2.5 minutes and you're up by 6, you're just gonna hold it.
I didn't know somebody like that. Somebody hung on because they were so overmatched.
It's not the way it's supposed to be. I understand. I'm not, I wouldn't be, like, I played in college. I don't want to, I would never want to shop.
She would have had a great sing.
I don't
On the 3-point line.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shock, I think.
You got shocked like, oh.
Yeah, it's 45. Never, you're really run off. 24 gets in your way. 24, 3 buses, you get the ball, you go inside. It's hard to run off. 45. I wouldn't want to, there's something to keep it.
just scored, say it's out.
Let them know. We got a guy over here that's putting us I'm so sorry.
She was trying to shake my house and I was like, yeah, so you're first one that turned into. No, they told me
I had seen Hey, all right, guys. Good to see you. How's it going? It's going good. Did you see
I did. I did see myself. Thank you.
I think it changes shape. Whether he's going to. Because mom can't leave her meals.
Exactly.
No, friends there. She said her kids. So what happened for you? Just like what?
Yeah, don't worry.
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah. I
Sorry, she is.
My mom's like, I'm ready.
I have to go to the library.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised.
What's up?
Hey, would you like
Yeah.
Denise, just do this next.
May. But do it next week.
Yeah.
Do it tomorrow.
You have to tell me that. I'm glad it's the same every year. It makes it so much easier.
The Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 meeting of the Carleton School District Board of Directors is called to order. Mrs. Badger, I don't believe we've had you do the pledge in a long, long time. Would you be willing to lead us tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Apple?
Here.
Director Buzza? Here. Director Evans? Here. Director Honchar?
Here.
Director O'Brien?
She's not able to be here tonight.
Director Puskar? Here. Director Schreiber?
Here.
Director Smith?
He's not able to be here tonight.
Director Zeletsky?
And she is not here either. Moving on, I will share that we had an executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed informational matters, contractual matters, potential litigation. I will now turn to Dr. Krager for the superintendent report.
Thank you, Director Schreiber. I do have a few updates for the board and for the public. I'd like to begin this evening with several governance-related updates, then transition into instructional initiatives, facility planning, and policy matters before the board. First off, January is School Director Recognition Month, a time to acknowledge and thank each of our school directors for their commitment, for their leadership, and for their service to the Carleton School District. Serving as a school board member is a arduous task. It requires a lot of commitment, higher level thinking, understanding of complex issues, and making those decisions, and that all have an impact on our students, our community, and staff members as well. Sincerely thank each of our board members for their service to the Carleton School District during this month of appreciation. So thank you for all that you do as board directors. Also like to offer a special thank you and recognition to Ms. Kelly Zeletsky, who has submitted her letter of resignation from the board and will not be in attendance this evening. Ms. Zeletsky has served on the board since December of 2015. And throughout her tenure, I feel that she really brought a steady, thoughtful, and measured leadership to board discussions. Her leadership and perspective were impactful. Contributions to the board and the district will certainly be missed. On behalf of the district, we thank Mrs. Zeletsky for her years of service to the board, and we wish her her very best in future endeavors. Following Mrs. Zeletsky's resignation, I'd like to share with the community how the board plans to fill this vacancy. The board will proceed with an interview-based appointment process. Following the approval of the resignation, the vacancy will be publicly announced and advertised, and qualified electors of the district will be invited to submit a letter of interest and resume to our board secretary, Mr. Bilby, by February the 1st. The board will review all submissions and determine which candidates to be invited to participate in public interviews. The interviews then will be scheduled during our February 10th work session, which will also be then re-advertised as a meeting at which the board intends to take action. The interviews will be structured so that all candidates are asked the same 4 questions while reserving the right of the board to ask any follow-up and clarifying questions to ensure a fair and consistent process. Only one candidate will be interviewed at one time. Members of the public will be allowed to stay in the room. One person will be in the room as far as that interview process. Following the interview, the board will publicly deliberate and appoint a candidate to fill the unexpired term by a majority vote. This appointment in particular then runs from the date of appointment until December 6th of 2027. The process is intended to provide openness and clarity for the community while allowing board members to thoughtfully consider candidates interested in serving the Carlton School District. Any qualified elector who is interested in serving on the board is encouraged to look out for the information that's posted on our website and will be distributed through a variety of our electronic distribution methods. Shifting now to teaching and learning, this evening the board will receive a presentation on proposed updates to our high school graduation requirements. Periodically examining graduation requirements is an important part of ensuring alignment. Requirements is an important part of ensuring alignment with current academic standards, workforce expectations, and post-secondary pathways, while also reflecting the evolving skills students need in college, careers, and life beyond high school. The goal of this review is not simply to add or delete coursework or credits, but to ensure coherence between coursework, career exploration, and real-world readiness. This evening, Dr. Taylor and Mrs. Badger will outline the specific components of the proposal and the rationale behind the recommended changes. In addition, we're pleased to share several curriculum updates to the 2026-2027 program of studies. These updates are designed to expand student choice, strengthen college and career readiness, and provide greater flexibility on how students earn credits towards graduation. First, we're adding 4 new college and high school classes. These offerings, pending final approval from sponsoring colleges, will include CHS Pre-Calculus, CHS Nutrition, CHS Introduction to Theater and Acting, and CHS Personal Finance. With these additions, Carleton students will now have access to 13 CHS courses, allowing them to earn transferable college credit and potentially reduce future tuition costs. Next, the Science Department is introducing a 2-year biology sequence for students attending Parkway West CTC and for students who could benefit from a more focused approach to the Biology Keystone exam. Biology A and Biology B will each focus on one module of the Keystone exam and provide 2 science credits over the course of 2 years. We're also creating greater flexibility for Parkway West CTC students through curricular alignment that will allow eligible students to earn up to 2 core academic credits, opening additional elective opportunities for them here at Carleton with our teachers. Finally, we're expanding opportunities for students to earn graduation credits through work release programs, including internships, externships, to support real-world experiences and workforce readiness. I'd like to thank Dr. Taylor and Mrs. Burleson for their leadership and collaboration in this process in developing these enhancements for the program of studies. As we continue planning for instruction, it's also important to align our academic calendar with our major facility projects. At a previous meeting, I discussed how the Carnegie renovation project may have an impact on the 2027-2028 academic calendar by starting after Labor Day. Those discussions still remain ongoing and being reviewed. However, the proposed 2026-2027 calendar before the board this evening was developed with the renovation plans in mind. Under the proposed calendar, staff would report on August 17th, students would report on August 24th, and the school year would conclude prior to Memorial Day weekend. Ending the year earlier provides uninterrupted summer access for our construction team, which is critical for safety and timely project completion. The calendar reflects a deliberate approach to balance instructional needs with our facility renovation project. Turning also then to facilities, this evening the board will hear a presentation from Jack McCowan from Draw Collective regarding the proposed renovation project right here at the junior senior high school in the shop. This project is designed to modernize the space and support expanded programming aligned with career readiness and innovation. Plans include spaces for esports, digital design, robotics, media production, television studio, and printing and SGI production, which includes 3D animation, virtual effects, and virtual reality. These improvements will support hands-on project-based learning and prepare students for a wide range of post-secondary and career pathways. In addition, the board will receive information presentation from Mr. Anthony Ditka, the district's bond counsel, regarding bond financing and support capital improvements project at Carnegie Elementary and here at the junior senior high school. The presentation will provide additional context to the current state of our bond. Related to these projects, the district is carefully coordinating the roofing and solar project, which we have talked about previously. With the approval of the board, the roofing project is scheduled to begin in April of 2026, so a few months out, and with substantial completion by August of 2026. And that roofing project includes a 30-year warranty. The solar project that coincides with the roofing project, as you know, our roof here is over 30 years old. It has outlived its useful life. Solar project has been designed to align with the roof warranty. It also provides a direct ownership model to offset energy costs and support for long-term sustainability. Proposals for this project are due on February 19th, which then we will put in front of the board potentially at our March meeting. I'd like to thank Mr. Pater for his work in these combined projects and all the detailed planning. As part of the fiscal planning process, the board will also be asked this evening to consider adoption to the Act 1 resolution for the 2026-2027 school year. Statewide Act 1 index has been set at 4.4%. Adoption of the resolution signifies the board's intent to remain within the applicable tax levy limit as the budget is developed and does not establish a tax rate. Finally, the board will consider 3 policies for a first read. Policy 123 works in the area of athletics, includes updates for clarifying fee delegation and requiring booster organizations to submit annual financial reports to support Act 82 compliance. And the board will also conduct a first read of 105.1 and 105.2. These revisions are minor and focus on clarifying procedures and timelines. First reading provides the board an opportunity then for community review prior to consideration for final adoption at our meeting in February. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Any questions from the board members?
Yes, I just have one question. I've fielded a lot of questions today about the calendar. It's a little hard to read the new format of how it was posted. Is there a better key? Because somebody asked about if for parent-teacher conferences, is that day off for kids? Because it doesn't specifically say that on there.
Yeah, so
It's just highlighted in gray, but the key doesn't say whether it's a day off or not.
Yeah, so parent-teacher conferences, historically, has always been day off, so our teachers are free to conference with parents. So yes, that is a student day off. That is on the first Tuesday.
So the highlighted days would be days off.
If you go to the second page says parent-teacher conference, no school for students in November and during. So that's that back page more details for students.
I think the format was different, so people looked at it differently this time.
Color-coded, yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions? We can move on to committee reports. Director Appley to share on Parkway.
Last Tuesday, on the 13th, the Carleton Board of Education visited Parkway for our meeting, and directors were treated to a tour. Those who haven't already been able to go around the school and discover the programs and just kind of the offerings out there at Parkway, and it's generally pretty impressed with some of the directors. Just a couple of quick facts. We here at Carleton have 123 students at Parkway, which is equal to a quarter of our students in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. So very active participation out there, especially as a percentage of our population. I always encourage people to view Parkway as an extension of Cromwellton programming, and that building as an extension of this building and our other building, because it is definitely a Cromwellton education facility, as well as the other 11 sending districts. But so a couple other quick facts. Students out of Parkway have 100% pass rate for the NOPT exam, which is the state exam at the end of senior year, which the students demonstrate confidence and knowledge in their programming. 100% can't get better than that. And of that 100%, 86% of them were advanced and 14% proficient. One of the most important things about Parkway is that there are portable industry credentials, which mean that a student graduating from Parkway can take that credential and immediately start working for an employer in the chosen field. That's pretty impressive, and I think it's a pretty valuable thing. And evidence of students realizing that, I think the best indicator is that there's been a 143% increase in enrollment in Parkway over the past 2 years. So we're currently between 13 and 1,500 students out there. Pretty incredible. When I first started out there 15 years ago, something like that, we were well about that. So it's just been growing and serving our students well. That's all I have. Thanks.
I'll compliment the team out at Parkway here for the meal they provided us. It's fantastic. So, there.
We usually get insights.
And just so the public knows, you can go online and actually view some of their services there, so they're open to the public. So the care program, their automobile program. Joe has told us that they have a phenomenal fish fry during Lent, so if you want to experience some of it, go on their website and there's like a order menu and you can look at all the different services that are relatively lower cost than that. But I encourage everyone, the tour was phenomenal of the programs that are out there. So thank you, Joe.
Before we continue. We're going to pause the rest of the committee's questions for a second.
Sure. As I mentioned in the superintendent report, Mr. Ditka is here. He's our bond counsel and is here to give us an update on the status of the bond.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Anthony Ditka, serve as the district's bond counsel, and tonight on your agenda, your finance item 7, there's going to be a bond resolution authorizing non-electoral debt. That's to fund the project that we've talked about. The advertisement that appeared in the paper on the 15th had an incorrect principal amount in it. The principal amount that appeared in the paper was $20,380,000, and the actual amount would be considerably more, $24,460,000. Now again, that doesn't mean the school district's going to borrow $24,460,000. It means that that is the maximum principal amount we're establishing under the resolution to be able to comply with state law. So, how did the mistake get made? The answer is that came out of my office. We pulled the wrong number in that we anticipate the $20,380,000 bond issue going. So we pulled what might be more like an actual number than not to proceed. So under state law, we could have proceeded this evening with a vote. We could have done that. All it would take was an amendment to the agenda. The board could have voted on at the beginning of this meeting and it would have been fine. Having said that, that is a big enough delta between what is going to be approved versus what was advertised that in the interest of transparency and doing things right for the public, the board has very kindly and graciously agreed to have a special meeting next week, a week from tonight, where that will be possibly one item agenda meeting where we're going to vote on the resolution net. It'll give us an opportunity to re-advertise so the public can see the proper amount of the resolution. So, that's the story. Again, we circulated the ad to the group, but there is no mistaking the fact that it came from my office. It's my responsibility. We got the number wrong. And I'm being thankful that you're willing to accommodate us and do this next week. And I appreciate your patience and letting me make the presentation and come back again next week to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Ditka. So, summarize as far as on the board level, we'll need to have a special meeting next Tuesday. We'll push out the advertisement as we normally do in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. That'll go out either in Thursday's edition or Sunday's edition. It'll be for Tuesday, January 27th. That meeting will be at 6 p.m. It'll be here in the CCC. Members of the public are certainly willing to come. However, we'll find out to be much more information than was just presented there as far as the bond issue. It's just a difference of what was published in that ad and just making sure that we're correct with processing the right information. District still continues to take out just a little bit over that $20 million, not the $24 million that goes into that larger box that things need to work through. So we do want to be transparent in the process.
Add one thing.
Sure.
My friend, the draw collector. The answer is this will also keep us on track to sell bonds next week. And so again, graciously, the school board meeting next week is going to allow us to maintain our schedule.
So, just to be clear with the public, because I think, I understand that, that not to exceed amount, there's a cushion involved in that. So that in any one year that if say, bonds coming due, kind of deviate from the schedule, we don't have to go out and reissue those bonds. But as Dr. Kreider stated, we're going to borrow what we're going to borrow for the project. It's just that extra amount gives us that.
School districts, it's actually any local government, school districts, municipalities, counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When you borrow money, you either are going to state the exact amount. That is typically the case if you're doing a bank note, you know exactly what you're borrowing, you get a proposal from the bank, or you do on a not to exceed basis. We have been doing it this way since the advent of Act 72, which preceded Act 1 back in 2004, because it's just more efficient. What we do is we create a not to exceed that says we're going to fit within this box. So we look at what the bond issue is probably going to look like, and you add about 20% to it. And the reason is, as I was saying, attached to the back of the resolution is a schedule. It's a debt service schedule, it's a maximum schedule. Bonds mature every year. It's not like your mortgage where you have one rate and one maturity date. They mature every year. If we were to take the schedule and make it tight, so it's closer to what we're going to borrow, if when bonds are sold, we exceeded any one number in any one year, even if we're under the aggregate, we have to start over. So you build that number too large, solely for the purpose of accommodating the bonds in the account. But there are protections for the school district in the body of the resolution. We will not be able to borrow more than what is necessary to fund the desired construction amount, plus the cost of issuance and capitalizing. So to protect yourself from over borrowing, you're just giving yourself the accommodation to be able to do this at the right time. It's also good for the district, by the way. In the old days prior to Act 72, process was you would have your underwriter, in this case means sell bonds in the morning. It would place your bonds the morning of your meeting, and then we'd come to you and say, this is what your bond issue looks like. And that was fine, except it meant you had to sell bonds on the day of your school board meeting. If we do it this way, there's flexibility. The best example was COVID. When COVID was coming, we didn't know what it would do to the markets. Doing it this way allows you to get into the markets on a good day. Yes, we schedule a day, we hope that's a good day, but if it's bad, you just pull it back. And you do it a week later. You do it. So the district is locked into marketing bonds on a day that might be bad for some reason. Bad unemployment figures, bad gross domestic product figures, whatever the case may be. So there are good reasons for it. It just creates this kind of confusion all the time. And this, again, of the 120 school districts that my firm represents, we get this question from 119.
Your explanation was helpful in that the not to exceed number is the rough cushion number. So the office just inadvertently put the actual number that we are likely to spend on the project in the paper instead of the cushion number. So it was a simple administrative.
So there's administrative oversight on our part. And again, saying it again, we could have still proceeded tonight, but it was just a good idea to be transparent.
Any other questions for?
I'll go, we'll see you next week. Thanks everyone, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And in the spirit of presentations that relate to facilities, Jackie Count, as we have mentioned, is here from Draw Collective. Jackie has a presentation for renovation project up in the shop. It is related to bond council presentation. As part of the bond that we are taking out, we'll pay a portion of the renovations towards the shop. We did set aside money in our capital improvements plan for the renovation to the shop, but we will also supplement it with small amount off the bond as well. So, Jackie, if you could walk us through what we're looking at up in the shop at the junior senior.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Yes, okay, so we're talking about the space in the former library, makerspace on the second floor of the high school. As you've heard, it's currently an underutilized space. We're going to be renovating the space to dovetail with the curriculum offerings and project-based learning initiatives of the district. So what I have here on the next slide is a comparison of what's existing versus what is new. On the left-hand side is the existing plan. Everything in color, not the tan, is the existing kind of spaces that we're talking about. The former robotics space, the Mac lab, printer stations, keyboard area, and ultimately the majority will be happening in what is listed here as the STEM shop. And the TV production studio in the pink across the hall is going to be incorporated into the program space within the former library. So on the right-hand side is the proposed floor plan. Everything, again, in color is what we are intending to touch. Anything in tan, we're not touching. So we're kind of a self-contained project here. The highlights of the spaces are 1 through 6 here, and I'll quickly talk about that. But really, we're trying to make this as cost-effective as possible. We're creating, flexible spaces that will be able to adapt as the district's curriculum adapts and changes. So, space 1 is what we're calling the creation station in the blue area on the bottom right. This is where we're going to house 3D printers, holograms, that 3D digital art capabilities. Students come in, this space is not intended to be scheduled right now, but is a flexible learning environment for students. The collaboration space in the bottom middle of the blue is just a small group instructional space that offers a different opportunity for student learning, smaller, more intimate space, flexible seating for group use. And then on the left-hand side is space 2. All of the existing robotics, arena and seating and storage will be located in that area. So none of that equipment is new. We're going to be able to reutilize the existing equipment. Space 3 in pink is what the computer lab, where the computer lab will be located. During the day, this space is intended to be a computer classroom, but off hours, this space can be doubling as a esports classroom. We've designed some flexibility in the space between space 1 and space 3 to allow the district, as the esports curriculum develops, this space could potentially hold tournaments. So we have some flexibility and visual connection, and you'll see some of that in the images on the next slide, that connectivity between space 1 and space 3. Space 4 in pink is the relocation of the TV studio. So we have the opportunity to have a little bit more space for the TV studio. That space can be utilized for more than just TV production, but media arts, again, as the curriculum develops. And then space 5 in green is the former robotics storage room. That material will come out, those storage racks will come out and be relocated to the robotics area, and that will turn into like a printer station opportunity, again, for small group instruction. That green area will also act as an access from the corridor on the north side directly into the TV studio without coming through the computer lab. Any questions? I know I'm kind of going a little quickly.
So, TV studio, control room area, you see other meeting, so students can potentially use that for recording music or podcasts or things like that that they're interested in?
Well, actually, within the space one, the district is considering mobile equipment in these big white boxes right here. The district is looking at movable recording studios, and that could be podcasting, keyboard, musical recording in smaller spaces.
I was just kind of thinking of like, you know, say students had a band,
Yes.
you know, probably wouldn't want, you need some component acoustics, so that's what I was kind of getting at.
Okay. Yes, we will have acoustics, we will have lighting within the TV studio area to allow that type of, event to happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
The existing Mac lab and the printer area is what is essentially going to be turned into the control room. So if you've been out there, you can see how that space is laid out. And we'll have direct connection to the TV studio. Aesthetics, we were working on a kind of Star Trek meets Disney aesthetic. We were mindful, again, of cost. So although you see a lot of color here, this is really just paint and drywall. We're maintaining the existing concrete floor. The only flooring that we're adding is in the lab and control area. We're adding some carpeting for acoustics, but trying to keep simple materials, a little bit of lighting, drywall, and paint. So view A in the upper left-hand corner is if you're standing essentially right inside the main entry door into the space, looking towards the lab. As I mentioned before, we'll have the opportunity for visual connectivity from that space into the lab, and that's what you're kind of seeing right here. This is a window into the lab. So during esports tournaments, it provides opportunities for spectators to not be in the lab space, but have soft seating and lounge space outside, but still be able to see events happening inside the lab. Actually, I didn't see that here. It'll be easier. Over here is where I was mentioning the two white boxes here in plan. These are what the district is maybe considering for a mobile podcasting and keyboarding recording space. We considered a built-in podcast keyboarding room, but that kind of limits the flexibility of how that space can be used. So the district is looking at mobile units for those opportunities. And then beyond that, here is robotics in the back, and then here is your 3D printer station. All the equipment, or all the furniture rather, is mobile, so again, flexibility as curriculum and student needs change. View B is moving a little closer into the space. Your back is to the door into the lab. So we're getting a closer look into the robotics area, and then the small group collaboration space inside the green portal. And then view C is the view if you're standing inside the lab, using some of the same detailing with drywall reveals, paint, and some decorative lighting to highlight the gaming stations, the collaboration stations at the front of the room. This, as I mentioned, this space will be utilized as a dedicated classroom during the typical school day. So we do have a teacher touchdown area in the right-hand corner. And then on the left-hand side, this is a garage door that can open to the TV studio. So again, if the district does decide to host esports tournaments, there's additional space for visiting schools
visiting students, and/or spectators.
Can I ask a question about the podcast labs? Those are soundproof, right? So like if they go in there, they're able to do the podcast without any, like there could be people in the other rooms, but they can still do their podcast, is that right?
Very different from here in the gymnasium.
So essentially, they could be in here and like,
Yes.
that sound would not, they would be able to do their, so it's multi-use.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of sound insulation in those things, but that's what they're marketing for, that contained, sound, kind of soundproof.
So you could have two things going on at one time in there with the podcast.
Yes.
Can I just say, as a student looking at this is insane and great. Like, honestly, just straight off the bat, just based off of what you brought us, Rose is like, I'm sorry, I'm so sad that I'm graduating.
From graduating, this is awesome. But I think it would be very beneficial.
Yeah.
It's formatted.
It looks great. What you thought.
Thank you. Okay, budget, as we've kind of talked in the past, and as you have experienced through the Carnegie project, it's a little difficult to establish where costs are in the bidding market right now. But the intent is to go out to bid and find out what those numbers are. We're in the range of, under $1 million for the work, and as Dr. Kreider mentioned, opportunities for grant money for some of the equipment may be sought for this project. Next steps, drawings are going to be available for contractors on Monday, so we're finishing up our coordination with our mechanical and engineering partners. Bids are due Tuesday, February 24th. The intent is to award in March, so between February 24th and the next March board meeting, we'll need to review bids and alternates. And I did fail to mention the alternate on this project. We're going to have an add alternate to reconfigure, turn the former TV studio into a small group instruction space. So that'll be an add alternate on bid day. Awarding bids in March, so long as they meet the district's budget, and the construction will start this summer, as soon as we can to get in there, and get the guys working. Questions?
You do not anticipate being done by the start of school, though, like need a couple of weeks into?
Yeah, depending upon when we can get in there. I mean, I have June 8th as the start. I know that's the Monday after the last day of school. I'm not sure if we want workers, contractors in the building prior to that. They all have their clearances, but if we can get in there to get started earlier than that, that's even better.
Any other questions?
I'm just glad to see this place getting work done. Like, honestly, because it's like, right now, we don't really have time to go in there. I mean, we may send something up to the printer and then go grab it, but like, other than that, we're not using it. And this is an amazing improvement. And I think it would definitely help the school feel more alive than just kind of standing, it's just sitting there, and you might be in it, and we're watching you in the fishbowl, is what it feels like, if you walk by.
Hey Jackie, I know we've done some work on that space in the last several years. Just wondering, with the age of this building, do we have concerns with asbestos or anything like that?
To my knowledge, no. I mean, there was a project done in '92, I believe, that renovated that space. And I did not see any indication of necessary abatement. I mean, there's no floor.
Yeah, because
so-
that would certainly slow things down.
Yes.
Thanks.
Questions?
we'll circle back to the committee. So we have Parkway, thank you, Dr. Apple. Pathfinder, Director Hunchar, any updates for us?
Thank you, Jim. Except for our finance committee meeting to sign checks, we didn't have a full board meeting. The next board meeting is tomorrow night at 7. Okay? Thanks.
I have 2 names written down for Shasta, so my apologies for December. Give it scratch. Who ended up volunteering for Shasta back in December?
Read, and then I would.
Do the alternate. I'm gonna write that down.
Reese will have an update for the next meeting.
Okay. Good. Is there a meeting that should have to be? Yes. Legislative PSBA, I do have Susie written down, is that correct?
That is correct.
Wonderful.
I have 2 small updates. The first is that the governor will do his budget address on February 3rd. So expect a more substantive update once that budget address happens. The second is, I know that members of the board and other public agencies have been concerned about the requirements to publish things like meetings in the local newspaper with the news of the closing of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. There are currently several bills being considered in the Senate and the House related to public notification requirements. None has been taken up by the full Senate or the House. You will not be surprised to know that they are conflicting with one another. But as any of that moves forward, I will be posting.
Thank you. Foundation, very, very well.
2 small updates. They had a reorganization meeting in January, and the Taste of Carlton is scheduled for Monday, April
27th, Taste of Carlton.
Mary, again, Taste of Carlton.
Yeah, Monday, April 27th.
Any questions in any committee reports? Student representatives, nice to see you both.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Who's going to kick it off today?
Is Rose Hetfield,
All right.
and I'm the senior student.
I'm Jackson King. I am the junior student representative.
And as always, we're very excited to show and represent our school and as like the students at the board meetings. So what we do in our free time at school. First off, for old business, I know I mentioned before Christmas break there would be a performance like the Masked Singer and like a game show to kick off the break for students. So that consisted of the Masked Singer where there was celebrities, which were teachers and students showing their talents on stage, and also the Arlington Squares, which was hosted by the state government. And it was filled with singing and dancing, just goes from a holiday spirit. And there was even also Christmas karaoke afterwards, since there was a bit of time that was left. And we got students like Solomon Henderson and Gabriel Aldridge, and they took the mic and they were running around the auditorium singing and bringing their friends in. And it was a really fun time, and they basically set everyone on a very high note, no pun intended, for the Christmas break.
After returning, student government had their monthly meeting on Wednesday, January 7th. The meeting consisted of applause and appreciation for the members and their hard work to put together the Carlton Squares, where club advisor Ms. Begg stated that this year's show went way more smoothly than she had anticipated. Since the show's preparation and planning all up to the actual event can be very stressful. In appreciation, she ordered the club Chick-fil-A, and the students celebrated by enjoying chicken tenders, chips, cookies, and brownies.
And also the Black Student Union had a meeting on January 8th, and members basically played games and they conversed about Black history as always. And they also played Black History Dictionary, and the officers also revealed that they were going to have some sort of film trip to watch a movie called Till, which is basically Emmett Till's, it's Pursuit of Justice for Emmett Till, and it's in the perspective of his brother, and just basically showing the hardship that he went through, but also for trying to find justice for her son after the false accusations that were played on him based off of his works. And so it's very shocking and impactful film, and it's really important for students of the Black Student Union and overall just to learn more about his story. And they also revealed that they'll be selling t-shirts as well to represent their club.
Midterms went smoothly as students had either tests, essays, or projects, or labs to complete before the first semester came to an end. Some have experienced their midterms going smoothly, while others had a lot of workload and questions on tests that left them quite exhausted. Nevertheless, students are excited for the second semester to begin and happy the pressure has been somewhat relieved. And under our new business, the new semester has started, and students are transitioning into their new classes or electives for the year. Though they thoroughly enjoyed their previous classes, students, very long page flip, have acknowledged that they are thrilled for the first semester to be over and halfway through the school year already. Most claim it went extremely fast. I can attest to that.
Also, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards has finally passed their deadline, and students now await their application results and see what awards they've received. So the regional announcements will come out on January 28th, and then the awards will either be an honorable mention, silver key, or gold key, which is the highest. And whoever receives the gold key award for whatever category that they submit their artwork to for the writing, then they automatically advance to national judging, which goes to basically their New York City headquarters. And they're also eligible for additional scholarships for the recommendation.
One ongoing concern among the students is the strict website restrictions on school Chromebooks or on school accounts. Many students have articulated their frustrations when it comes to trying to complete assignments, especially ones like research projects. In some cases, because the educational websites are frequently and shockingly long. In some cases, assignments can only be completed at home using personal devices, which makes it more difficult for students to work during study halls and be productive. While blocking inappropriate or unnecessary content is reasonable, we have all seen an increase in limitations on our accessibility throughout the years.
Because of these increases in restrictions and blocks, we try to kind of collaborate with Ms. Burleson and talk about all these concerns, since access to useful resources is necessary. And although we understand those restrictions are very necessary, it's a wish among students that we get some sort of in-between or reevaluation of what's qualified as a violation. And it's become evident that the frustration has risen because they are unable to access those websites for projects and even interests like poetry, art, etc. So we're trying to work with this person on that. And that'll be all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the student? I'll quickly comment. Your approach seems really professional and mature, and kudos. Every school district is required by the state or the feds to restrict websites for obvious reasons. And with the size of the internet, it's virtually impossible to do that perfectly. So I think every school district struggles with what you described, and I'm glad you're taking it to Ms. Burleson, and she'll work with Josh and try to open up those that are actually legit educational websites.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to mention it. I know I've many concerns and comments about it, and the worst you can do is just say something about it. And if it can't be fixed, then so what can I do? Try.
Moving on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Dr. Taylor, has anybody signed up to ask questions about agenda items on our meeting tonight?
No, sir.
No, okay. There is time at the end to ask other questions, general questions. I'll move to the main section of our meeting, the voting section. Under section C, minutes of previous meetings, we'll entertain a motion to approve those previous meeting minutes.
I so move.
Thank you, George. Moved and moved in second. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Now we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section D, miscellaneous education, we have a lot of things. The first one is going to be a presentation of Dr. Taylor.
And Mrs. Badger is going to join me.
Fantastic.
All right, so good evening, everyone. A few months ago, we had a committee of people and we started looking at graduation requirements. About 2 years ago, the state legislature passed a law where we have to, starting next school year, all schools in the Commonwealth have to have a personal finance class as a graduation requirement. And so we thought it was a good time to kind of look at our requirements and see if things should change. So we formed a committee members are on there. Mrs. Badger and I worked with some excellent educators and really did a lot of deep dives into what best practices are and what other schools in our area are doing as well as across the Commonwealth. And so I just would like to thank all the people you see on the screen there because they did a lot of time and effort outside the normal workday to do their research. So the purpose of our committee really is look at what the new requirements should be to present things to you. And we had 3 overarching goals. First of all, we had to make sure we identified all the current state graduation requirements. And for those of you who are familiar with our state, there are hundreds and hundreds of mandates in Pennsylvania. And sometimes some can kind of fall through the cracks. So we wanted to make sure we had all of them, and we did, so we're covered. But you would be amazed at how many requirements there are in state mandates. Next, we looked at local graduation requirements, and then we wanted to create a proposal for all of you tonight. So those were our 3 major goals. So what our actions were of the committee first, we looked at our graduation requirements policy. So we do have a district policy, I believe it's 213, I believe, that specifically says like what are the graduation requirements. You have to have 4 credits of English, you have to have 3 credits of social studies. So we looked at our graduation policy, then looked at state graduation requirements, and then we tried to figure out what was best for Arlington. And one of the things that came up was there were some excellent points that the teachers brought up, and I asked Mrs. Badger if she could share those with you because they were perspectives that I don't think anyone else would have come across. So would you mind sharing with me in public?
I'm not going to stand over there because it makes me feel really short and I stand kind of sorry. So one of the things that I talked about extensively in our Rose and Josh, I can tell you this is true. I have issues with students not knowing enough about Excel and Google Sheets. So for me personally, that's something I use excessively in chemistry and hydrochemistry. I know they use it in econ, they use it in stats. When you talk to almost any student who has graduated, no matter what they are doing, whether it's Jeff Stephanie graduated from here, he works doing statistics with no longer jurors. We've got people who are working at banks and Federated and so forth. Mr. Bilby, of course, uses it all the time to make our budgets. So this is an extremely important skill set, no matter what your field is, basically, in my opinion, to be able to do this. So this was something I wanted to bring forward and say, not only do I want you to be able to recognize the spreadsheet, but I want you to be able to do calculations in it and know some of the basic skill set that you should have. I think it gives you more employable skills no matter what field you're going into. So that was something I pushed very hard for. One of the other things we talked about was Parkway. One of the things we mentioned earlier was Biology A and Biology B that we're going to be creating. A long time ago, we used to have a situation where we ran a biology program that we did not have a lab for the 10th graders. The 9th grade still has the lab. We're still doing 9th grade bio scholars going away. What this will allow is that the students who are going to Parkway right now, it sucks up a period of their schedule because of that lab. It will then free that up. They'll take it every 2 years in the modules, and it will free that period for them to be able to pick up their credits. So that was kind of the idea behind that. One of the other things we talked about with the Parkway is that when I went out and I looked at 30 different schools where I was looking at across the state, Parkway students at KO actually are able to earn core credits based upon the programs that they are in. So I think Jody said something like 120 kids from 9 through 12 roughly are from our school that are attending Parkway. So that's about 30 some of our kids that we want to try and do the best we can. And one of the things we also looked at was the idea of potentially being able to do some type of internship or work release program. So the idea is what KO does, what I advocated that we do, is if you attend Parkway for 3 years and you are passing your classes, you're being successful, and you're going to continue for that 4th year, based upon the program you were in, you can earn core credits. There's already a grid that's set up, KO has this approved through the state, that allows you to get maybe an English, a math, and science. It just depends on what you are enrolled in. So that would benefit about 33 or so of our kids every year to be able to get those credits as well as potentially work towards maybe a work release or some type of internship while still getting all of their credits. It also allows, if we have any students that are going to Parkway who are not passing their courses, they would be able to repeat those, especially the English that we talked about, because that's the one we have to have 4 credits up to be able to graduate.
Hey,
Yes.
just so I understand.
Sure.
So about 25% of our Parkway students are English language learners.
I don't know if is that accurate? I don't know what the numbers are for the ESL.
I don't think it's at high school, specifically.
You were just saying there were 30 students. So
I was saying out of each grade level.
I see.
So if we have 125
Yeah.
roughly kids or so,
Yeah, yeah.
we're somewhere around 33 or so per grade.
Right.
So that's roughly 33% we have that are in this opportunity that they could get those credits.
Right.
And they could potentially also, if they're not being successful in something, they could get those credits made up, so they can still graduate on time. If they are being successful, it gives them an opportunity to get that work study or some type of internship potentially. The ELL learners, that was also something I know I've been talking to the board through some of our other meetings over the last few years about the increasing numbers, especially when we start talking about high school students. In the elementary, when they come in, a lot of times, they're very young, they can start learning the language pretty quickly, they pick it up rather quickly. When they come in the high school, they are placed, I don't know how many of you know this, they're placed actually by their age level. So they may come here with almost no English skills. Some of them unfortunately cannot read or write in their own languages. So we're dropping them into geometry or into chemistry or whatever it might be based upon their age. And they don't have the skill set to be able to do what's in there. Especially when they don't have any English background. And sometimes it's a question of, if they have studied English, we might be able to work with them, but it's also the fact sometimes we have to assess them and figure out, they haven't been in school for a long time. They don't have that background they need to know, and we're starting to learn some of them also have some learning disabilities. It's very hard to distinguish, is it a learning disability or is it a language barrier? So those are some of the things we're trying to take a look at, and hopefully I'll be meeting with you guys some more to continue to talk about some things we can do with this. But what we saw was, it was last year, the year before, we actually had a bio class, we were able to co-teach, which was really nice. And it was a very small class, but there were only 13 kids in the class. There were 8 different languages. And most of them, when I say 8 different languages, they were like, hello, and that was about all they could say in English. So it was very challenging to be able to teach that in a classroom. So part of the offering the biology AB is hopefully we can have one that's kind of geared toward maybe our Parkway students, and one perhaps that we can work through when they have their ELL classes in the morning, then be able to have a section where they're kind of together, and perhaps maybe even co-teach or have very small classes, so then we can work with them in groups by languages, which might give us some more opportunity over a 2-year window to hopefully have them pass the exams, because they still need to pass the exams, most of them, for being here. So those are some of the things we talked about. But we still have a long way to go, in my opinion, with some of these things. Certainly the ELL is something we need to continue to talk about in terms of all of the classes. I think that's something we have to work towards. Something else I'm going to say. My cheat sheet real quick here. One of the things we talked about, and I'm going to jump into this with graduation, but one of the things that we started to look at, and I talked to Dr. Sturdy about, was we started to look at the graduation rate of our students and where they're going when they leave here. So if you go on PDE, you can look at our website or on their data. Roughly 33% of our last class they have on the online, which is 2024 class. 33% with college. Lots of reasons why those numbers have declined. If you look at every district across right now, they're all declining. Obviously, there's economic issues. There's, education becomes so expensive, and you're not getting the turnaround pay for it when you graduate. So a lot of people are not going, they're going ready to the workforce, which again, for our students who are going to Parkway, who are coming out with that kind of readiness, that's great. That's roughly, again, about 33% of our class. So if I've got 33 kids out of a class of 100 who are going directly into jobs there and skill sets, that's great. If I have 30 kids who are going to college, they're well prepared and doing great, and we're seeing that they're going all over the country, and that's wonderful. My concern that I keep beating people over the head with at the meeting was, what do we do with the middle? That's where I have concerns with. And again, although college and high school is great for our kids who are going off to college, I have a concern about the group that's in the middle. I'm going to keep beating this like a dead horse, because I think we have to address that. So I'm going to continue to ask for meetings, and I'm going to be tired of me, but I'm going to continue to ask for meetings, because I really think that is a piece where we are not meeting the levels that we need to meet.
Yeah. So, 2 things that develop this Badge's comments. First of all, is that once you reference the chart that we have, it's on page, I believe, 63 of our program slides, which is attached to the agenda tonight. And it's a 1-page chart, and it maps out every single program offered at Parkway, and then it has columns that you can get a math credit, or science, or social studies, or English, and it's by department, or I'm sorry, by a specific CDC program. and it's all mapped in the Atlantic standard, which will provide an incredible amount of flexibility for our students to take additional lessons with our teachers and take some classes that they're really interested in, want to come to school and take those classes. So the other thing I want to mention with the ESL was we've been talking about this since I've got here. And so one of the things that for the public knows tonight is that we discussed with the board before Christmas and they agreed. And so we created a paraprofessional position in ESL, one at the high school and one for Carnegie. And the board tonight is approving the secondary person for the ESL paraprofessional position. And that person's job is to go into people's classrooms like Mrs. Badger's, where she has 8 kids with 8 different languages in one chemistry class. That associate will go in and help her help the kids in their languages and pull them and help them. So we're still advertising and looking for someone to take the ESL and the elementary position. So if anybody wants it, please apply. We need somebody. But very good points that I think that we are making some progress there. So 2 other recommendations. Really no change in English, 4 credits. The one thing, it's a very small change in social studies, is we're still going to have 3 credits, but we're recommending that the only minimum required course is American government. Now, the reason why we want to do that is because, number one, we feel American government is a very important course. But secondly, we are required by law to give a civics exam. And everyone in Pennsylvania has to give that, and so that's the course that best fits having the civics exam. The problem with having specific titles like American Cultures 1 is that over time the courses change. We actually don't even have American Cultures 1 that doesn't exist anymore. We have survey U.S. history, and then also when students come from other districts, which we have a lot of transient students to high school, they may have had another course that's similar to American Cultures but wasn't called American Cultures, and so then they're behind because they have to take another social class called American Cultures 1, and then they get behind the graduation requirements. So we're trying to provide maximum flexibility with the kids. Mathematics, the related changes, the only one minimum is Algebra 1, it's because it's a state exam. Science, no credits, minimum is biology because, again, the exam. State law, as I mentioned, now requires that you have to have a half-year course in personal finance, which we will be proposing to have a new teacher added to the teaching staff next year in the BCIT certification area to teach those courses. As Mrs. Badger mentioned, there's a need for students to understand intermediate skills and advanced skills, even with spreadsheets and formulas. But also with that, we want to incorporate other things like data literacy and digital productivity. And so we kind of envision that course is going to continue to evolve because we're going to have these foundational skills and spreadsheets and different things they have to know, but then we have to look at, a lot of people are using Excel, and there's now AI features inside of Excel, so we have to start talking to kids about how do you use AI with Excel, and how do you apply that appropriately and ethically. So that is something a new course required. It's a semester course, again, also taught by that BCIT certification area. Next, because we've added so far 2 semester classes, there was Health Phys Ed had used to have 1.5 credits. It was a half credit of health, or almost 3, and then 1 credit of Phys Ed, which was equivalent to 2 semesters of Phys Ed 9 through 12. So because we're adding, in algebra class, we learned if you do 1 on one side of the equation, you have to do on the other side, or you're going to have problems, right? So we don't want to increase the graduation credits so high that it's almost impossible to get. So we're decreasing it to 0.5 credits at Phys Ed. Now this is just the minimum. You can still take multiple years of Phys Ed. Actually, we've talked to the Phys Ed department. We already have an elective called Strength Training, which is a great class. It's basically a personal fitness class in the weight room. We're talking about adding courses in the future where students can take a personal fitness class with yoga, mindfulness, Pilates, or a Phys Ed class that's specifically for lifeguarding and CPR certification. So we want to get more into personalized Phys Ed classes where the students are really interested in those areas and take those as electives, but we don't want to jam it down so you have to take Phys Ed, general Phys Ed, because not everyone wants to play dodgeball, right? So we'll have more flexibility with that. Electives, we had 9.5, now we have 9. And career readiness, there was no credit value previously to career readiness. And we felt very strongly as a committee that you need to have a credit value if kids take it seriously. So we want to have students have 8 pieces or artifacts of evidence, And 2 of those pieces have demonstrated a career plan, and we're gonna provide specific evidence for job shadowing places, internships, externships. We're gonna provide kids more opportunities for industry-based learning experiences and standardized credentials, and those kind of things. And we're gonna add a 0.5 credit to all those in that career portfolio that we'll keep. So students know they have to do those things to earn a diploma card with it. Any questions for us?
Can we state what the start of the freshman class, next year's freshman?
The class of 2029 will be the,
First class is applies to.
yes.
I have a question. Most of the kids I'm familiar with, ESL kids, come into the elementary school, and in a couple of years, they hit the ground running, and come up here. So you saying that there's a lot of kids that come in the junior high and senior
So
high?
you have families come in, and some of those kids may be in the elementary schools, and they pick the languages up relatively quickly. But with our high school kids, we have students come in who are 16, 17, 18 years old, who they're being dropped in here, they have absolutely no English, and you're trying to teach them, and it's very complicated to do that.
So if you say in a class of 13 kids in Gladwell,
This is a bio class of 13, 8
different languages, it's still a problem.
Correct. And one of the things with, when you start talking about the ESL and some of the accommodations you're making, you're not just trying to communicate with kids who speak no English. You're translating every single set of notes you have for them into 8 different languages to pass out. Every exam you're giving, you need to translate into 8 different languages to pass out. So there's a lot of that type of thing that has to be done.
So Gary, are you using the translator earbuds?
Some of the students that they're not really in the older high school kids, I think they're mostly in junior high, is my understanding, where they were piloted. And they're going to
Post had some.
But mostly I think they were in the junior high. I can't tell you how well they're working, I haven't actually used them. But I would say the majority of students we have had, at least in science at this point, they don't have them, so. And I don't know if it will help them or not at that point. Some of the terminology is just so different. It's one of the issues we have with translating materials. We have issues where we're trying to translate and we have so many dialects of various languages, whether it's Farsi or whatever it is, and it just doesn't translate well. So you do give it to a student who actually can read English and read Farsi, and they look at it and go, that's not what that says. So we're struggling with that. Some of them translate very well. I mean, French, Spanish, some of the typical ones you might think of, they translate well. But some of the more rare dialects, it's more difficult to get the translator to actually say what we'd like them to say.
And so you don't think translator earbuds would help in technical classes like that?
Maybe for general conversation, just for me to talk to them about what that is they're trying to do.
Different
Yes,
concepts.
and I would say focusing on, not so much my class of chemistry, but certainly with the Keystone and tested subjects in biology. That would be where I would put them if I had an option.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
It is truly a problem, Mr. Montreux, because when she's talking about stoichiometry, the stoichiometry translate to Ukrainian? That's a major concept in chemistry, and if she's saying stoichiometry and stoichiometry this, and the kid has the AirPods in it, doesn't know what that word means, it's meaningless. So when you get those tier 3 vocabulary words for courses, it's hard.
Even in the basics though, like we had a geometry class a couple years ago, we had a number of students in it, all different languages. They were coming here that didn't have a grasp of English, but also struggled with their own languages. So we are trying to teach geometries and proofs to a large portion of the class that's in there. And this couple of students were literally printing out worksheets that are learning what a triangle is, learning what a square is, learning what, so you're doing essentially almost 2 curriculums at the same time because.
So you're teaching elementary school concepts.
Well, you have to start somewhere. You can't start with trying to teach them what a proof is. Like that's not, if you don't have the basic skill set, you can't start teaching a proof. And based on their age, that is the age appropriate place to put them.
Do you sense that the American-born kids are frustrated? I'm not sure if I could answer.
I think that's a discussion we need to have somewhere.
Are they?
There's one teacher in the classroom.
Yeah.
You have a group of students who are struggling that you want to help their ESL. We're trying to help. You have a group of students who have lots of different other letters after them, which are IEP, 504, GIEP, whatever they might be. You also have accommodations we need to address and take care of. You have to do those as well. My concern, I keep coming back to, is the middle. What's happening to the middle? Those students who are not being addressed by IEPs, 504s, and GIPs, and they're not ESL. If I'm pulling in these two directions, how do I do this? And that's a discussion I've had with some of the board members when we've had our 195 meetings. I know I brought it up in the graduation committee meeting. And I'm not saying I have a fix for it, because I don't, but I'm just saying it's something we need to think about and we need to work towards. We want to talk about improving our graduation rates and doing different things. How do we focus on that career and get them what they need?
Are there different paths to graduation? So say you don't pass the Keystone, is there a different path to the graduation?
There's multiple pathways you can make for graduation.
It gets convoluted, but there are multiple pathways.
But the other thing I brought up in the graduation thing, we're asking about, because I don't know that we know exactly. When we have students who come here, they're 18, 19 years old, we need to educate them. They don't have the English skills, they're not able to get all the credits that they need, but now they're gonna max out education. How do we give them a diploma that's what's probably?
So they're part of that 34% that are lost.
Well, they're part of the crew that we're asking the question of, is there a separate way we graduate them, and what does that look like? Because we're saying this child has the same things that Jackson has had coming through in his grade rows, but they've been here a year, and they came from somewhere else, and they don't have that skill set. We can't give them the background for it. So yes, they're all alternative pathways for them to graduate, but with that group, we struggle more as to how we do that. That was some of the discussions we had in the graduation meeting, of how do we look to address that.
Mrs. Badger, you're describing a situation on the human level. The administration and the teachers are doing everything they can to better each individual student. On an institution level, you're describing something that's impossible.
Correct. I mean, I think we all understand that. It's just, what steps can we take to try and make this good as we can? I know we can't solve that problem, but anything we do to move in the right direction, I think is bigger.
And wherever we can engage our legislators to have them understand that they put certain requirements on us as a district. And those requirements in a vacuum make a lot of sense. With this new relatively new dynamic, it's impossible. It's literally an impossibility. So how do we do the best things we can for each individual student, but also do the best thing for the institution and society? They're adults.
I think it would be beneficial also for some of the districts who have larger percentages of ESL populations to sit down, whether it's some of the teachers from each district and the board members with the administrators, and say, what are you guys doing, what is working, what's not working, and learn from each other. Because I think some of the districts we sit down and try and talk to, they don't have the same kind of population that we do. And so what they're saying is going to work for us. If we talk to Brentwood or somebody who is similar dynamics, that might be something that we might be able to find some, paths to follow and get us in a better place.
I think about my day job or any of our day jobs, if we were forced to have half of our colleagues speaking a different language and not having that English as a common language, impossible. So we don't know how to do it.
And our numbers are even greater in elementary school. They do learn it faster, but the percentages are significantly higher. Something we consider.
I provided the board with a cheat sheet that's a table, and that's actually what the proposal is on the board agenda tonight for asking for your consideration to vote on. Are there any questions on the presentation, anything that Ms. Badger mentioned, or anything on that summary sheet?
So it is clear readiness. Last slide.
Yes.
Great ideas, talk about jobs, shadow replacements, internships, and externships. I don't know what students are interested in, like we were talking about in the room. When we talked earlier about the Parkway, the affordable credentials, we're talking about some credentials here. You talked about things like, Microsoft certification, Google certification, that sort of thing. I know employers may.
Those are some of the things like we talked about here, as well as everyday students going out and doing some type of job shadow. There was discussion about whether we would make this mandatory as part of the requirement to graduate. I'm not against doing that maybe, but right now I was against it until we have a plan in place with companies established and those pathways set up for our students. I think once we have that in place and we work towards that, then I think, yeah, you can talk about making that requirement. But I mean, it's easier for Parkway to think they have those connections.
Well, sure.
Moving in that direction. Right, but when we have just students who say, I want to go do pharmacy, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, to establish this pathway for them to be able to do that. I think if we can get that in place, then I think that's something we can talk about. One of the other things we talked about with respect to this was transportation issues for our students who do this types of shadows and things.
I'll quickly echo your comment and that here. Jeff, I love the content in there. I think there will be some challenges in figuring out how we get it done. And thinking back to my own high school education, the biggest missing piece for me trying to figure that stuff out was having an adult with some context about how the world works. Figure out how to provide a little bit of instruction, a little bit of open my eyes, here's what this looks like. So it will require some more time of our staff to be able to help and guide, and our teachers do it every day on some level, but a guidance counselor providing that kind of one-on-one help or one-on-one help is kind of probably required, so not a small challenge.
Anything else?
Just to reinforce that, there are some really good resources that are available, because it's not just about making sure the students have an opportunity for them. It's also about making sure, does that employer know how to post a job shadow? Do the teachers who are doing 100 other things have the context to say, this is what a kid is doing and learning and bringing back? And here's how you can continue to reinforce that work in the classroom. I think this is great. I think it does require a full-time staff member to implement really well. There are some good resources out there to do. Young adults learn to work by working, and opportunities for kids to work in high school have decreased considerably because they're pulled in 100 different directions, and because as the economy worsens, those jobs get held on to by older adults. So there's a real opportunity there to build that out. But I want to just make sure as a caution to the board, so that we don't go into the idea that if we go down this route and kids go to a job shadow and don't like that job, that is actually a success. That is not a failure. Learn what you don't want to do while you're still in high school, rather than committing to something and finding out after you've taken out student loans that that is not the pathway for you. So I think that this is really important. Mrs. Badger, I share your concerns about how do we make sure that those kids that aren't graduating with a plan have that plan and figure out what comes next. Because we know that a high school diploma alone is not enough, but it is the baseline entry point to society. So we've got to do that and then tap them into what comes next.
We're very fortunate that we have Parkway, and I've had at least 3 conversations with the administration there. They have the model. They have a great model for everything you just talked about, for helping our teachers, helping our students, for helping parents understand. And not liking the job is that's a great opportunity. In Parkway, it's 9th grade, they get to rotate, right? And then, I don't like mechanics, but I love carpentry. So we want to have that flexibility built into this. So we're absolutely doing that, and we're looking at how can we restructure responsibilities in the future with our staff to make that happen, and basically kind of follow Parkway's lead. Anybody else?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, just making sure this all applies to the class of 2029 and beyond.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have to rethink all of my high school planning decisions that I've ever made. Okay, thank you.
But if you want to, you can.
Oh, don't give me that. Now I have options.
Thank you all.
Dr. Taylor, Mrs. Beck, thank you both, and I'll echo Susie's comments, and I'll say we'll look to you, our board, I think, has an appetite to lead in this direction and do the right things, and your experience and your professional background will bring a ton to the table, is bringing a ton to the table. So
in this district, we've developed a strong relationship with Partners for Work. He does have a website, a lot of resources that are built out that are exactly tailored towards this as well.
So I would go one step further and say that Partner for Work developed this website in part because John was the superintendent, Dr. Kreider was the superintendent who was the chair of the Workforce Development Committee at the AIU. And so that committee that Dr. Kreider chaired with several other superintendents said, we need to develop these tools and these resources so that our students have opportunities that are not currently available to them. And it was vetted, the information has been vetted through superintendents, through a network of guidance counselors, through a network of non-guidance counselor teachers to understand what works and what doesn't. It is imperfect, right? But I want to hear where it's not working so that we can change and adapt it, but those resources do exist. It just takes a person to be really focused on it here.
Okay, so reorienting our brain, we are under section D, miscellaneous education. We just heard a presentation from Dr. Keller and Mrs. Badger. Any final questions on that before we move on? Then regarding the rest of the agenda under section D, let's look at items number 2 through 5. Let's see. So yeah, items 2 through 5 are actual items that we want to vote on. If I can have a motion for items 2, 3, 4, and 5 under section D, we'll knock those out. Thank you. Second. Moved to second. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on 2 through 5? Now vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Section D again, items 6 and 7 and 8 are all committees. And I believe we talked about this briefly maybe in December, but let's try to finalize it. So I'll entertain a motion around the, item number 6. So I believe, I'd like to nominate Joe Apple as the chair for the Building and Ground Committee. I can tell by your look in your face, you're excited about the opportunity.
I second that motion.
Thank you, George. Are you willing to?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And other names that I had written down previously here. George.
Yes.
You have been involved in this? Excellent. You like to? I'll nominate George Honchar as a member of the Building and Ground Committee.
Yes.
Fantastic. Anybody else have a interest in being on the Buildings and Grounds Committee? Brittany, would you like to be? I'd like to nominate Brittany Bova as a Buildings and Grounds Committee member. Brittany, are you good with that? Sure. All right, fantastic. All right, so then we have nominations. Go ahead. Okay, so now that we've nominated people, I'll entertain a motion to approve Joe Apple as the chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee and George Honchar and Brittany Bova as members of the board.
Jim, I'd like to give Reese a chance. I'd like to nominate Reese Smith to this committee.
Okay.
Or does he have to be here? I guess he has to be here.
You can't disagree. That's
Okay, maybe for next week, next month.
I do have his name down for another committee, but
Okay.
we can ask him next week if he wants to also join the Buildings and Grounds.
Yeah, sure.
Since he's not here, he can't say no or say yes, but. We have open, people can join at any time. I'll entertain a motion then back to the Buildings and Grounds for item number 6. I'll entertain a motion to approve Joe Apple as the chair of Buildings and Grounds and then George Honchar and Brittany Bova as the members. Got a second for that motion?
Second.
Move in second, all right. Can we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congrats, Joe, George, and Brittany. Thank you. Under section 7, Finance Committee, we usually have our treasurer be the chair of that committee, so Leanne not being here especially, she will definitely be thrilled to be chair of that committee.
I will second that.
And you will second that? Perfect. And George, your comment about Reese, I think Reese had expressed interest in being on the Finance Committee, so do you want to nominate Reese
Yes.
to be on the Finance
I
Committee?
nominate Reese Smith for this committee.
And he does not disagree, so I'm sure he'll accept it willingly. And in the past, I've been on the Finance Committee. I'm happy to see that to anybody else if they would prefer to.
I'd love to see you on that committee.
Okay.
I will second your nomination today.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Then I will entertain a motion for item number 7 to appoint Leanne as the chair of the Finance Committee and Reese Smith and Jim Schreiber as members. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Susan, thank you so much. George, second, thank you very much. Any questions or discussion? We'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under number 8, Education Technology Committee, I believe, I'd like to nominate Susie Pushkar, Director Pushkar, as the chair of that committee. And you're nodding, so your mouth is agreeing, that's great. And in absence, you want to nominate Leanne as a member? Great. All right, Ken?
Oh, yeah.
I'll nominate Leanne, Leanne O'Brien as a member. And I had Mary down, would you? Is that? I'll nominate Mary as the other member of the committee. Anybody else have a strong interest in being on the education or technology committee? Okay. I will entertain a motion to have Dr. Susan Pushkar as the chair of the committee and have Leanne O'Brien and Mary Evans as the.
I so move.
Thank you, George. Move.
Second.
Moved and second. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? That's a vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Now items 9. Oh, just number 9. I guess we could have done that with something else. My bad. So with great reluctance, I'll entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Director Kelly Zaletsky as a member of the board.
Come.
Moved. Second. Moved and seconded. Thanks. Any questions or comments? Not vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I think it's worth saying that Dr. Strider, during his presentation, put in a pretty valuable board member Kelly's name. And I think that it's worth recognizing her service to the board. I've certainly enjoyed serving with her, and this.
I agree, yeah. She was focused on the kids, focused on the right thing for the community, so she was a 10-year member of the board, a great person. That motion did carry, so congrats to Kelly and good luck in her future endeavors. Moving on to section E, finance, we have presentation from bond council we've already had and the shop renovation from our architect, so those are good. Moving on, we have a lot of items. We are going to skip item number 7 due to the clerical mishap that we described earlier. So I will entertain a motion to approve items 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 8 through 21.
I will make a motion.
You're motioning that?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Moved to second, thank you. Again, we're skipping 1 and 2, so it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 8 through 21 under section E, finance. Moved to second, any questions or comments on those items?
The Ford Interceptor police vehicle item 21. This is purchased for our school police officers. Getting a fully equipped vehicle from Crafton.
Yes.
Great. Glad you used.
Yes, good vehicle,
Why did you
use.
use Sundays?
Yes, right. Old lady,
Yeah.
owned it for years, vacuumed it after she used it every time. No, very, very nice vehicle. It's fully equipped. As far as the interior guts of it, as far as police vehicles go, just the equipment on the inside can range anywhere between $18,000 and $20,000 just for the equipment inside. Has safety components built into it, lights, the full works as far as responding to emergency issues. The trunk has area to store any type of equipment for directing traffic and putting things off to the side, just for those safety purposes as well. So it's a good vehicle. We did work with Grafton Borough for $18,000 for the vehicle. Very low miles and in very good condition, so it's a good opportunity for the board to purchase.
And something that you feel has a lot of advantages over the current situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime you have an employee who requires a lot of transportation around the district and wants to respond to emergency types of issues, having a dedicated vehicle that is under the district's insurance frees us up from a lot of liability, brings much better awareness to the purpose of our school police officer, helps with a presence in an area where there's an issue that he needs to respond to.
And I'd like to know, we're gonna use Parkway to,
Yeah, Parkway, we're actually looking just as the services that they provide, we're gonna help wrap the vehicle and brand it, and yeah, give it a good
so
car
they'll hold
presence.
notes.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Any other questions or comments under those massive items under section E, finance? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section F, personnel, I'll entertain a motion to approve all the items under section F.
So
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Section 6, student activities. There is a single item. I'll entertain a motion for that item under section G.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Brittany. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Good luck to you.
Correct. Good luck. Good luck. We will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Section H, policy services. I'll entertain a motion to approve all the items under section H.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any questions or comments? I will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Old business. Any director of the old business they would like to bring up tonight? Hearing none, we'll go to new business. Any director have any new business to discuss? If not, we will move to Dr. Taylor. Anybody have open floor questions from the audience? No, this is historic. But thank you.
Come up here now.
Cheers. Board members, any open forum questions or comments?
I just want to say that in the past I'm against the school police officer, but against him being armed. But I have watched Officer Fisher at work, at least at the elementary school, and he should be commended for the relationships he's building with those students. He even on Monday, not yesterday, the week before, the elementary school did a food distribution, and he came down, he helped unload, and then he helped take stuff to the local free fridges, but his relationships that he's building with the kids are still not for the arming part, but I will say that he is doing some really fabulous work, at least at Carnegie. I can't speak to anywhere else because that's where my children go, so that's where I speak. But my son James absolutely loves him, so.
And I'll quickly say, I'll give you 5 seconds, but I'll quickly say that there's a lot of feedback from the public, there's a lot of feedback by the board members saying, here's what we really like and want in that person, in that role, here's what we're worried about and we want to be cautious about, and nobody appears to have a perfect, but I thought we tried to balance what we heard from the public, what we heard from our board members, and the administration did a great job of trying to find that right person with all of those things, and I'm thrilled to hear that he's killing it from all angles, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Maybe a different
Different.
term.
He's knocking it out of the park. I hear the feedback and I'm responding.
I was gonna say the same thing. When you guys were first talking about hiring this position, and you were talking about all the qualities you wanted in this person, I thought, whoa, that's quite a list for one person, and I think he's fulfilled what you guys had wanted in the first one. He's doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Brett. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate that. Any open floor questions from our board? If not, in honor of Director Zalewski.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting?
It's a Kelly Zalewski thing. She
She used to love when the meeting was over, so before you even had a chance to say all the things, she would say, move. So, in honor of that. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.